Hello, Gaston. Good morning, Argentina time. How are you?
Hi, Antoine. I'm fine, thanks. Surfing the new low oil prices, but okay.
Well, thank you for giving a little bit of time so we can go through your background and everything you and Capsa has done for honest recovery. So maybe let's start with the beginning. Who are you? So what is your background? Who are you? What do you like? What are you doing now?
Okay. Well, I'm Gastón Fondevilla. I'm 41 years old. I'm the father of Juan Bautista, 9 years old. I have a petroleum engineering degree from ITBA, the Instituto Tecnológico of Buenos Aires. And also I have an MBA degree from IAE. And currently, the engineering manager of Capsa CAPEX Group. Personally, I enjoy running regularly, playing soccer each week, and I'm amateur in mountaineering and skiing.
And so how did you get to work in the oil and gas business? What what's what is your background? I mean, how did you decide that you wanted to become I don't know, a petroleum engineer and then to run this
Petroleum,
career?
yes. It's a good question. Well, my father was an electrical engineer. Okay, so I wanted to become an engineer from from the very beginning because I saw how he designed things and fixed things. So uh, my first approach to engineering was related to computers, but then in the time that I started to study in the beginning of this new century, I started to the university in 2002. So there was a big economic crisis here in our country with a huge devaluation, etc. And when I look for other engineering careers, I look at the petroleum industry. I didn't know anything about it. And I talk to people that work there, and they say, okay, you will have plenty of jobs. You can travel everywhere. You can work internationally, etc., etc. From that point of view, they convinced me to follow this career. And today, after with the Monday journal, was a very good decision.
And
So I
how?
started, yeah.
No, no, please go ahead.
No, I start my career in 2007 working as a water flooding engineer in Puesto Hernández field, working for Petrobras. Was 1 year and a half. I live it there. It's in the north of the Neuquén province. It's about almost 300 kilometers away from the capital of Neuquén. Uh, I have a very good field experience related to water flooding and to the first shell treatment pilots that were conducted at the country. Then, my then in 2008, with the subprime crisis, all the capital expenditures decreased on that field, and an opportunity to work for Capsa with Capsa was starting a polymer flooding pilot. So I was very interested to enter in the enhanced oil recovery world. So I moved to Capsa. I started as a reservoir engineer there, following the first polymer flood pilot. And then, well, this project, I conducted several expansions of this technology, and then I my responsibilities were growing through time. I get also responsibilities from the San Jorge Gulf Basin and projects with the Neuquén Basin related to develop tight gas field in Neuquén. So I was working with EOR and Unconventionals also. And then I will then I will working with the reserve certification, and in the last 7 years I occupy the role of engineering manager to and I think that it's I work with the same company with different challenges. Okay, new projects, new things, and that's why it keeps me on track. And today we have the challenge to keep expanding our polymer flooding pilots, to develop the unconventional shale of Vaca Muerta in 2 of our fields that we have.
So how long have you been working for Capsa total? How many years now?
Total, I started in Capsa in the half of 2008, so it will be 17 years.
17 years. So yeah, that's indeed a nice career. So you mentioned that you also have been going and discussing with academia. So you went back to academia and you've learned something in academia. So how did it help you, and what did you learn for, I would say, your position and everything you're doing? Because you said you went from the field and then EOR and unconventionals plus reserve certification. So what did you learn in this part?
Yes, related to the academia, I was when I study petroleum engineering, I get a scholarship first from the university and then from Petrobras Energía. So it's like to give backwards something that the university was helping me at the beginning. So I wanted to give try to give back that. But then I think that the academia is a good experience related that when you have to teach something, you have to know deeply that subject. You are exposed to questions, to challenges, and you make a lot of contacts. This is a very small industry. It happened to me that then I have plenty of alumni that they work in other companies, they work in provinces, they work abroad. So you make a very good network when you have to ask for someone or to discuss something. So I think that two parts it's a very good experience to present, to explain concepts, and also to have a very good network.
You mentioned, so you started also to work on EOR. So can you remind me when was the first EOR pilot? What year was it in Capsa, and especially the polymer flood? What year was the first pilot in Capsa?
Yeah, the first pilot in Capsa was conducted in the Diadema field. Was a very mature water flood from more than 20 years of water flooding. It was a water flood that was started in the late 80s, and the pilot started in October 2007. Was a pilot of 5 injector wells. Was a homemade plant with a pump for each injector wells, and well, I arrived at Capsa and helped to survey and to do the follow up of the pilot. And we have some viscosity issues that we could resolve it. And And when we see the response and the huge potential that has this type of recovery with our field, because we have more than, at that time, we had more than 400 producer wells and more than 200 injector wells, and about 2/3 of the field could be polymer flooded. So that was the first step. Then with the expansions, we learned that the infill drilling provided a very good response, because this field has reservoir heterogeneity and fluid heterogeneity. So you have a very viscous oil with a fluvial reservoir, with a commingled
When you say
fluvial reservoir.
when you say viscous oil, can you give the basic reservoir characteristics? So oil permeability, porosity.
Yeah. Yes, the oil is a 23, 24 API with more than 100 centipede and reservoir level. We have some reservoir that have between 100 and 400 centipede at reservoir conditions, and we are talking 50 degrees C of temperature, and we have an average permeability of 500 millidarcy, but with a broad range. We have high permeability layers up to 3, 4, or 5 darcy, and a lower permeability of 100 to 200 centipede millidarcy. Sorry.
So yeah, you mentioned you started the pilot, so 5 wells, and so maybe even a step back. So why and how did you convince, or how was the management convinced that polymer flooding was the right technology, and what made you move fast, or what made you start the pilot at that time?
Yes, we have two main issues that we had to resolve. One was the effect that when you put polymer in your water, and that polymer goes through the reservoir and it breaks. So you have an effect at the producer side that increase the corrosion of the tubing, etc. So we have to solve the increase in pooling interventions within the production side. That was solved with we have a production engineer that resolved this matter with a new technology developed that we patented, and we could solve that. We decreased 3 times the polymer interventions. And the other side was to try to move to higher viscosities. We started with 20 centipede, and today our main project has 120 centipede of polymer injection. We did several steps related to viscosity. We increased from 20 to 40 centipede, and to 60, 80, and then to 120. We always try to make an equilibrium between the rate and the viscosity. Okay, if we increase the viscosity, we decrease the injection rate a bit in order to have a uniform volumetric efficiency within the projects. So working with higher viscosities, solving this production issue, and working with lowering the cost of the cubic meter with viscous cubic meter that we put on the ground, related to improving the facility of injection. We go from 1 pump per well to 1 main pump, and tagging along 8, 10, 12 wells per manifold with the coils. And also we work with our polymer provider in order to develop a polymer that is protected against our salinity conditions, help us to decrease that viscous cubic meter cost, and also try to understand more the reservoir. Okay, so we have channeling problems. We apply some gel treatments in order to counterattack those channeling problems. We change some injection producer patterns in order to take to account that. We perform infill drilling in order to tackle back the heterogeneity of the reservoir. So it's a mixture of things. It's not only the polymer flood, it's try to attack this low volumetric sweep efficiency related to the reservoir and to the fluids in multiple ways.
And when you say you went from 20 to 120 centipoise, many people today in the world are afraid of losing injectivity and too much injectivity. So did you see a drastic change in injectivity between 20 and 120, or are you still happy today with how much you can inject and the difference it makes?
No, it decreases your injectivity, but you are working with a high permeability reservoir. So an induced fracture may occur, but you have a high leakage, so the fracture doesn't extend so much. So you have to survey, you have to follow the well fluent pressure of your producer in order not to have a breakthrough of polymer. You lose injectivity, but if you manage it well, you can take these induced fractures to counterattack that. So today we are happy with a high viscosity injection. We are looking to if we can increase more viscosity or not, but the issue is to we have also sand production, so we don't want to have a lot of sand production that affects our facilities. So today that will be the main issue that we stop to increase our viscosity injection.
Have you considered, just an idea, have you considered to co-inject with the polymer some particles like microgels or something that could basically slow down even the polymer?
We perform conformance gels from time to time. We made a surveillance on an injector pattern basis. Okay, so we see each pattern. We try to diagnose which problem could be arising, if it's polymer breakthrough, if it's a sort type of channeling, is decreased injectivity, etc. In some patterns, we perform acid jobs. In other, we perform gel treatment jobs as a trial and error basis. So we put the gel in order to decrease the polymer velocity advance, but we see how it evolves. In some cases, we have to perform in the same well 2, 3, 4, 5 times a gel treatment. We don't want to put a very huge gel treatment because maybe we will tap the main reservoir. So the idea is to go step by step and to see how is the response from time to time.
And in terms of how many wells, or what is the performance now in Diadema? How many wells did you inject polymer over the years? And in terms of incremental recovery and efficiency, can you tell us some numbers?
Yeah. Yes, today we have more than 80 injector wells. There are around it's the 20-25% of the field that is going under tertiary recovery. We have some incremental recovery factors that depends on the zone, but goes from 6 to 10 or up to 15% of incremental recovery factor. And the efficiency, we look it up as we follow very tightly the water-oil ratio. In some cases, some mature water floods went from 50 or 60 cubic meter per cubic meter down to 5. So it's like an order of magnitude less in the response of the water-oil ratio.
And did you have any issue with produced polymer, or are you handling this without?
Yes, we have facilities that were designed for secondary recovery. So today we have currently we have 2 pilots of water treatment so we keep receiving more and more polymer in the production site. We have around, in average, at the main facility, between 100 to 200 parts per million of polymer, and that affects the water treatment. So we are testing some technologies in order to take into account the polymer that is produced and does not affect the treatment of the water and of the oil.
And so how do you scale up the recovery? Because you said today it's 25% of the field. So are you rotating? Are you targeting step by step? What is the strategy in targeting these areas?
Yes, today the strategy, we started with a homemade plant, then we moved to the modular solutions, and today we are looking for a central facility solution. So because the modular plants are good when you want to try and to expand quickly through the field, but then when you have the potential of various zones of the field, with a central facility, you can concentrate operation, logistics, and the surveillance of the project. So from each project, what we perform is that we between each 4 or 6 months, we perform a review of each project in order to see if the project is responding and if it economic, okay, if the result is economic. In some zones, just for example, for the original zone, we are injecting for more than 17 years. And there are zones that we started, for example, in 2014, and we ended now, so after 11 years of injection. So what we do is try to, if we have new zones, well, we shut down the zone of polymer and put a new zone that is near our modular plants. But today we are thinking of a more central polymer facility in order to try to increase to 40 or 50% of the field.
And so it means you stop injecting when you cross an economic threshold. So it can be a large pore volume injected. So do you have any idea how much pore volume you've injected in this pattern that lasted 11 years or 10 years?
Yes, we injected more than 2 pore volumes. But in the main project, we are about 3 pore volumes. So it's
and you are still making still above break-even limit with 2 or 3 pore volumes injected. Yeah. And so how do you explain that it took so long? Is it polymer retention? Is it increased sweep efficiency? What would explain the fact that it takes so much time?
Yes, I think that one could be polymer retention because we are seeing low concentration of polymer. We inject more than 3,000 parts per million of polymer, and we produce, in some cases, in some wells, around 500 to 1,000, but in the average is around 200 ppm. So there is polymer rotation, but also we think that the heterogeneity of the fluid takes into account, one assumes that in one part of our field, we were producing 100 centipounds of oil at reservoir conditions, and when we tested the new oil that we were producing was a 400 centipound at reservoir conditions. So there is some different oils within the reservoir. So I think that the heterogeneity is more than we thought, and a polymer rotation is also the answer for that high pore volume needed in order to increase this recovery factor.
So since when you started, how has the EOR landscape evolved in Argentina since 2007? How has it changed?
It changed to the good side, because in 2007 we were the only player. Then YPF started in 2012, I guess. And today we have players like Pan American Energy, like PECOM. So if there are more players for the EOR, it's better, because it will increase the polymer consumption, and we can take advantage of polymer logistics. And we know that we have a main enemy in common, that is reservoir heterogeneity and the multi-layer injection. That's one of the main issues that we have to account in the San Jorge Gulf Basin. We are working with a closer partnership with other companies and providers in order to counterattack that. Today, I think that the main issue for the San Jorge Gulf Basin is how do you control polymer injection in a multi-layer reservoir. It's not the same as a secondary recovery. And for the Neuquén Basin, the Neuquén Basin today is concentrated in the development of the Vaca Muerta shale, and there's plenty of mature water floods that in reservoir quality are much better of San Jorge Gulf Basin, but you lack of very good water injection quality. You have high salinity brines, more temperature. So in those fields, you have to take into account a most robust molecule for the polymer in order to get some viscosity.
You've been working on polymer. Have you worked with other EOR methods, and what do you think is could be tested, or what's new, or what do you want to test in the future? What's on your list?
Yes, today we are conducting a surfactant pilot that we started last year. The idea is to perform a surfactant polymer flood pilot for at least 3 years in order to almost reach 0.3, 0.4 volume injected of that surfactant. I think that is the future for San Jorge Gulf Basin. And also, I've been working for EOR methodologies of half and puff injection of gas for Vaca Muerta. So I think that there is an opportunity of half and puff of gas, and also half and puff of water plus surfactant on the shale of Vaca Muerta.
So, and how are you handling, or are you having a lot of interactions with, so you mentioned PECOM, Pan American, and YPF, but what about international exchanges? So with other companies or learnings, or how do you approach that?
Yeah. For us was a very good line of work that performed this technical workshop of interchange of technical interchange in order to improve the learning curve. Okay, so we worked in the past with Sinopec, with CNRL in Canada, with OMB in 2023, with MOL, also with PDO in Oman. So what we look is other companies that have fields that are analog or similar to our fields, and we exchange the problems that we have and how we interact, or we try to solve those problems. And we perform a technical sessions that could be online or to visit at the field. And these are very good. It's a very good practice because you openly talk and share which things work and which things don't. So it enriches the knowledge of both companies, and you can improve your learning curve a lot.
And so how do you still have the same approach for allocating capital to ER? Because you mentioned first the big issues, which were polymer production and then heterogeneity. But after you also mentioned, for instance, logistics. And so are there other challenges that play a huge, I would say, role in the way you allocate the money to develop these projects?
Yes, today the main problem that we have to develop this kind of project is, well, after the pandemic, the high inflation that we have in steel, in electronics, etc., have conducted that today a polymer injection facility is double in cost about 5 years ago. So it's very challenging to try to expand this technique when you have an increase in the cost, and the price of the oil barrel didn't have the inflation that we see in other items. So that's why we are focusing on try to think this type of project as a reduction cost with central polymer facilities. Today, for the San Jorge Gulf Basin, I think that could be an opportunity within the logistics side if the polymer providers could make a delivery of the polymer strategically for a lot of companies and not focusing from company to company. So that could be an opportunity issue, because just for example, the freight cost from China to Argentina is lower than the freight cost from the Buenos Aires port to the south of the country when we need the polymer. So there are some opportunities in order to decrease this cost, and to if we have a less polymer cost and less facility cost, we can expand this project more.
And so are you more on medium to long-term forecasts, or because you're mentioning like to try to decrease the cost? And on the same way, so it's a bit, but for instance, do you have models for like reservoir models that will help you anticipate the development and the long-term, medium-term projections?
Well, the problem with the San Jorge Gulf Basin, as I said, is the high heterogeneity. So we tried some models in the past that when you see the reality, it didn't work. So we focus more on the response of the waterflood and what is really telling us the connection between the injector and the producer. And in the end, is if you have a good water flood, you will have a good polymer flood, because you proved the connection between the injector and the producer. And we focus more on the conceptual simulation models that we can, okay, if I convert this well how will be the response at the pattern of if I increase the viscosity to double, it will work or not, or maybe to try to understand if you have a channeling problem or a breakthrough problem, which site performs sensitivity analysis in order to determine the size of the channel and to design the shell treatment for that.
And so where do you see the biggest opportunities for you in Capsa in EOR in the next, I would say, 5 years and 10 years?
Yes, I think the main opportunities that we have is to work with the central polymer facility approach in order to decrease logistics and operation costs. Then tackling the problem of multi-layer injection. We have plenty of reservoir that if we have that resolved, it will help us to extend more the polymer projects. And also we are seeing an opportunity in increase the ratio of injector per producer. Today we have a ratio of 1.5 producer per injector, and our idea is to perform some infill drilling of injector and to go to one by one basis. So I think that these three targets could be a very good opportunity to keep expanding and keep living this project. And also we have this surfactant polymer pilot that if it works would be a change level.
And you mentioned central facilities, so how you will control the pressure, rate, and viscosity with devices, yes, for each well to allocate like the coil to allocate what you wish, because it's probably I mean, central facilities are nice, but if you want to adapt a little bit by injectors, you need, of course, to control it a little bit. So how are you planning to address this?
Yeah. That's a very good question. Our idea is to have a central facility and to have polymer pipelines, okay? And these polymer pipelines to reach each manifold of injector wells. Each of our manifolds at the field has between 8 to 12, 15 injector wells. So the idea is to have one pump per polymer pipeline and to perform the control at the manifold with the coils. So we only concentrate the polymer makeup, okay? And then we have with the central facility to go to each manifold with a polymer pipe.
So over this journey, if you had a couple of things you would have done different, or your biggest challenges in EOR deployment, what would it be?
That's a very good question. First one, when we tried the increase in viscosity was in 2013 or 14, I guess. So start with a very high viscosity from the beginning. Then start with conformal gel treatments. If you are starting in a mature waterflood, first tap the high permeability channels with the gels and then start the polymer flood. And then take more into account what is the reservoir telling us. Okay, as a reservoir engineers, we have to observe, to make assumptions, to make calculations, and then to take development decisions. These four words are from Loris Dake, from the practice of reservoir engineering. So we don't have to forget that our reservoirs are 1,000 meters deep. And I think in the oil industry, the reservoir engineers are the engineers that are more far away from the problems that they have to solve. Okay. And you have to take more time and more effort in order to understand what is the reservoir telling you, which are the main connection between producer and injector, and to adapt to that to perform an improvement in the volumetric sweep efficiency with the wells before start the polymer.
And so anything else you want to share about EOR polymer flooding? Something maybe we have missed and you wanted to discuss before we move to the closing session?
Yeah. I think that today is very challenging to keep this project ongoing and to think in new projects. But I think that if we put the effort to try to account what is happening down at the reservoir in an integral way, the reservoir engineer has to talk more with the geologists, with the guys at the field that they measure the wells, etc. So it's more I think that the way that you have to see this type of project is in a holistic way. Not only put viscosity at the wellhead of the injector, but to see as a whole volumetric sweep efficiency improvement project. To take that with all the tools that you have, treatments, high viscosity, conversions, per drilling of injectors, and that is the way that you can have a very good result in polymer flood. And if you have a new reservoir, and you don't know if you want to polymer flood it, first you have to try a water flood, but a short water flood between 6 months, 1 year, up to 2 years, in order that you don't perform any challenging, and then start as soon as possible the polymer. If you have a connection that is proved between injector and producer well, if you have a good secondary response, you will have a very good tertiary recovery response, a good polymer flood response.
Maybe another lesson that you would share with other reservoir engineers or petroleum engineers, something you've learned and maybe also something you think the new engineers should bear in mind if they enter this career?
Yeah, always try to push the limits. It's an industry that there's plenty of people that they will tell you this was trying before. You don't lose effort on that, but push the limits, try new things, try new technologies, put everything on doubt. That is the way that engineers must work, to doubt everything, and the problem solving has to be, you have to diversify the options, then took the option that could be most suitable to solve the problem, and then converse to it and try and again and again and again. And don't lose effort on that.
And is there anything that's exciting you for the future of oil production in Argentina? You say you work also on unconventionals and the rest, so...
Yes, the Vaca Muerta shale will be a change in the oil industry. It's already been changing the oil industry and the country's reality. Today the projections are that we could reach 1 million barrels per day before the 2030. So Vaca Muerta is a very huge opportunity for the oil industry and for the country. But what I see is we have an opportunity to put more head on that, more knowledge, and not to be a brute force basis. Okay, we drill, we frack, etc. That could work with the cost, will decrease the cost, because it's a very capital intensive way of develop. You have to have a continuous drilling rig, and you have to a monthly frac fleet in order to decrease the well cost. Or there's an opportunity to push those recovery factors up. Today, the shale first started between 5 to 10% of recovery factor, because it's only primary recovery that is the volume, the stimulated reservoir volume that you reach with the fractures. But there's plenty of opportunity to perform half and path project with the gas that is produced in order to increase those recovery factor. Sure, there's a lot of frac hits going on, and we have to put head on that in order to solve it. Why they are happening? Could we take advantage of that? Maybe to think in a future to perform in a depleted shale secondary recovery. Why not? To convert wells between and maybe inject water or half and path water within the same well. And I think that there's plenty to do in order to increase the recovery factor in Vaca Muerta, not only to reducing the drilling and completion cost.
And maybe last two questions. So one is, how does your typical day look like, if there is a typical day, and how do you stay on top of everything, being now handling a lot of things? This is the first question. And the second question is, would there be a chance in the future for you and the team also to publish more about this experience and share the good learnings for the other companies implementing Polymer or about to implement Polymer? So maybe question, one about your day and how do you stay on top of everything?
Yeah. Yes, I work on a weekly basis. You have to, when you have so many subjects, you have to be very organized, and you have to take time to do some planning. So I start on Mondays with quick meetings with my team, about 30 meetings in order to see what are the main subjects to attack on this week, and to organize the field travels and etc. And then we perform a main engineering meeting on Tuesday, and also a meeting with the geologists on Friday, in order that everyone knows what is doing the other one. Okay, because if not, maybe could be sometimes that the objectives go far away, and we are looking for the same thing. Okay. Then on a monthly basis, I traveled twice per month to the field, one time to Neuquén and other time to the Chubut province, just to keep a good following with the project that are ongoing. And today, with this managing role, my tool went from the Excel to the PowerPoint, but I try to keep some technical things ongoing in order to not lose up the technical part. So, and also it's you have to be very to work with the to trust in your team, to delegate project, but to perform a good follow up with no micromanagement. So it's like a hard equilibrium to get, because you have the top management that asks for results, and today our main issue is the reduction of the OPEX, because of the increase of the cost and the decrease of the price of the oil barrel. But don't forget what we are here, that is to increase the value of our assets, and don't lose the focus on to optimize the volumetric sweep efficiency, the increasing the recovery with the low capital and operational expenditures. So it's like a circus, no? So you have a lot of plates that is rolling up, so you keep all that plates running. And also, from time to time, there's a fire that it comes, and you have to put a fireman and extinguish that. But working on a weekly basis, having frequent conversations and follow up with your teams, so it's as you keep working, okay? And the other question was about the publications. Yes, we participate from time to time with the SPE Congress and ESG Congress also. And the idea is to try to in the medium term to publish a paper with an update on the polymer experience in Diadema, because we know that our last paper was in 2013, I guess, related to that. Yeah, I think it's time to update.
And last question, you say you like hiking and walking and the rest. So what's your best memory, and where is outside of Argentina, if there is a place where you've been, and if you can recommend anyone that likes to go out in the nature?
Well, Argentina has plenty of beautiful places. If I have to recommend the ascent of the Lanín volcano in Neuquén, it's near the San Martín de los Andes city. It's a 2-day hike. Then you go up to 3,700 meters up. So, but it's quickly to arrive because you have an airport in the city, and then it's a 2-hour travel from the airport to the base, and you can start the hike. Then another one that is very beautiful is not as known, but you have the Volcán do Muyo. It's in the northwest of Neuquén. It's more up, it's 4,700 meters up. It's a 4-day trip. You have to go to Barbarco. It's from Neuquén, it's a like 5 to 6 hour drive from the airport. And then you have 1 day of going to the base camp, 1 day of acclimatization, and then to look for the top, no? But you have El Chaltén, you have Ushuaia, you have Bariloche. There's plenty of things to do. In one time, you have to come here, I think 5 to 6 times in order to try to visit the most beautiful spots in our country.
Thank you very much once again, Gaston, for taking the time in your very busy week. I hope we'll have the chance to maybe to discuss once more later, especially when there will be some updates on Diadema. And in the meantime, well, thank you very much once again, and all the best, and only the best for the future, and we stay in touch.
Well, thank you, Antoine, for the invitation. Well, I hope that in the near future we can present the good result of the surfactant polymer flood and get those results on the books, on the research books, in order to expand this.
I will be the first one to read it, to read the paper. So looking forward. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.